The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. This is Ed McMahon along with Doc Severinsen and the NBC Orchestra inviting you to join Johnny and his guests, Orson Bean, Robert Klein, and Erma Bombeck. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
Well, we got it with another winning crowd tonight. Well, it's a great audience. You're a champagne audience. Last night we had a liquid protein audience. Grim. But I thank you. That's very nice. I'm Johnny Carson, doctor of comedy. Seems I'm about to be sued for malpractice, but what the hell? Well, what's happened today? How many of you saw all 9 hours? I wonder if anybody sat through all 9 hours of The Godfather, the novel for television. That has had a great effect in this country, even though part of it was reruns. There was some new film. For instance, Vice President Mondale walked into the Oval Office yesterday and asked the president, he says, "How's things?" And the president turned to him and said, "Don't ever ask me about my business." And Walter went out, and that was it. Today is a certain day called the Great American Smokeout. How many of you familiar with that? It's not a bad idea. The American Cancer Society has designated, I guess this is the second annual, as the Great American Smokeout. It's an effort to get people, smokers, to kick the habit. How many of you here have quit smoking? I know this guy recently quit. He's sucking his neighbor's thumb. It is not easy. I tried, and I should lay off today, shouldn't I?
Do it.
What?
Go all night without a cigarette.
Well, it's easy for you to say.
What?
No. I probably should do my part.
Look at this. Look at this and then toss it away. Go ahead.
What is it?
Just throw it away. Look at it and throw it away.
I tried it. I'm not proud of the fact that I smoke. It's a disgusting habit, but if you've done it, it's very difficult. I quit for a while, but I found myself lighting a piece of beef jerky one day. I understand the Marlboro man quit today or tried for 24 hours out in Wyoming and went 4 rounds with his horse. You get very irritable. You have never...
I've never smoked.
Never?
Never.
You ever smoked pot?
Well, I was in a room and some happened to sneak into my nose. That shows you what has happened in television in the past 5 or 10 years. I would not have been able to ask him that 10 years ago at all, to say, "Hey, do you smoke pot?" I mean, the network said, "No, we don't talk about that." And then for you to say, "You've inhaled some in a room where other people have had it." A disgusting lie if I've ever heard of it. Oh, I happen to be walking through this room on my way to the bar.
Well, anyway, here's something else that came out. If that works, and they find it's effective in this national experiment, and it making people more healthy and successful, what they're going to do next, they're going to ask the people in California to stop breathing for 24 hours. Because this air out here is not too good. I get so scared, I don't know what to eat or drink anymore. It started with a saccharine, right? That's bad for you. Now they find that the smoking we know is not too good. Have you seen about the hair dye thing that's out now? Does that scare you a little bit? Food and Drug Administration says that a chemical they use in, I guess, hundreds of hair dyes that both men and women use in this country has been identified as a cancer-causing agent in animals. See, now the problem is when you go out with a bleached blonde, not only do you get a warning from her mother, but you get a warning from the Surgeon General at the same time. But they had the scientists found out some interesting statistics during those tests. Blonde rats had more fun. And now, and if that isn't enough, another substance this week identified as xylitol. The Dental Institute came out and said xylitol, which is a sweetener used in a certain brand of chewing gum, can also cause cancer in laboratory mice. Is there anything left that we can eat or drink? You see, the mice, they're getting hip. They've had a bad couple of years testing all this stuff, and the mice apparently knew that the xylitol was not good, the chewing gum, because the scientists came in, and the mice had stuck the gum to the bottom of their cages. And they were down there putting it up, little teeny mice. I didn't think you were going to believe that. We have a good show tonight. It should be fun. We have, incidentally, I should mention, as I do from time to time, Merv Griffin has another one of his fabulous theme shows that only Merv does with such panache. Tonight, Merv has the Supremes, the Pointer Sisters, the Temptation, Gladys Knight and the Pips, and Morris the Cat. And they're all going to discuss the heartbreak of not being recognized in their street clothes. It's a very interesting, in-depth kind of show. You should catch that one. We have Mr. Orson Bean, who is not hazardous to your health at all. In fact, Robert Klein, Kelly Garrett, and Erma Bombeck. And we'll be back. We'll be back after this.
Great reunion, Granny. We love your gravy. It isn't homemade.
Shh. It's Heinz home-style gravy. Made rich and smooth like mine. But tastes as good as my own homemade gravy. Without the fuss. Comes in jars. Handy for leftovers, too.
But everyone thought you made it.
Well, let's not blow my image.
Here's more of Granny's homemade gravy.
Ah.
4 Heinz home-style gravies. You'll be proud to call them your own.
9 Lives presents Morris.
Look at that pussycat.
Reminds me of Louie from the old neighborhood. Sounds like him, too.
Getting hungry?
I'll go watch the baboons.
Don't be finicky. There's 9 lives.
Well, if you've seen one baboon.
Tuna and egg, liver.
9 Lives liver.
9 Lives. Nutritious foods cats really like, even Morris.
You bring out the animal in me, 9 Lives. Wow.
Have you no pride? You're applauding yourselves.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, they should.
from time to time, we like to kid television. There's a lot of things on television that are worth kidding. And a lot of shows this season have come and have departed already because it's a tough business. And one of the most entertaining things is to look in TV Guide and look ahead the coming week and read the plots of the shows. Because, you know, they have to give, what, a small...
Précis.
Is that a word?
Précis, yes.
Yes, a capsule.
That's a précis.
It's a précis. I didn't know that. Well, they give a little précis, which is a... it's a small capsulized version, and of course...
Like a miniaturized synopsis.
Yeah. It's small, I know that.
It's
Because they
supposed to
don't-
be to the point and concise. It's supposed
Succinct.
to say it in a short amount of words.
That's right, and the idea is to get you to watch those shows by reading these
Yes.
short summaries. I'm going to read you some from TV Guide, October to November 1970. Actual listings. A show called On Our Own. Here's the premise of the whole show. To slice food bills, Julia and Maria make a deal with a meat supplier whose contract is as tough to break as his steaks are to chew. Isn't that cute? The Hardy Boys. Over the Bermuda Triangle, Frank and Joe take control of an aircraft when the pilots are found unconscious in mid-flight. Man from Atlantis. This one will boggle your mind. Mark passes through a time warp that returns him to the days of the Old West and a confrontation with his identical twin brother, a notorious gunfighter. They want to get that guy out of the water so bad.
Boy.
Laverne and Shirley. Short of vacation money, the girls take a job costumed as Jack and Jill to sell children's shoes. I don't want to miss that. Rafferty. Illness strikes home when Vera becomes paralyzed. I would say that's illness. Bionic Woman. While investigating a security leak, Jamie becomes one herself after a hairdresser gives her a shampoo that is actually a chemical brainwash. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman pretends to marry a presidential aide to find out how the wives of government officials are being used to leak confidential trade information. Love American Style, a skydiving wedding. Beretta. A crazed woman abducts Beretta in the belief that he is her long-lost wayward son. Here's one, Medical Center. The spinster is torn between her desire to live with her lover in Greece and her duty to her brother, who needs transfusions of her blood. And I know you'll want to put this down on your calendar. Celebrity bowling. Greg Mullavey and Michael Evans versus Whitman Mayo and Meredith McRae. I'm going to tape record that on my thing so I can play it back the next day. Chips. John and Ponch watch in amazement as a large, angry man single-handedly demolishes his small foreign car. And they watch. This is a half hour they watch this.
That's to get you to watch. That's to entice you.
Yes. Wild Kingdom. The spring migration of the sandhill crane to a small area of Nebraska's Platte River is observed. There they are vulnerable to cholera, transmitted by the white-fronted goose. And here's tonight's movie, Scream and Scream Again. Vincent Price as a mad scientist who uses live and unwilling donors for organ transplants. Like a man's going to be willing to get, while he's alive, to donate an organ.
Yeah.
Those are actual listings in Television Guide for the month of October and November.
Yeah,
so.
boy, you talk about being concise in précis form.
Well, they are that.
That was not even full 7 pages. You're just one thing on the last page.
That's true.
But, boy, you've said it all. It's all there. Every single thing in the world you wanted to know about a television show is in those 6 and almost a half pages.
You are wrong, Rerun Breath. Let me tell you. Let me give you...
There's more?
Never throw anything away, Orson. Here's something we came up with. Policewoman. Sergeant Pepper arrests a transvestite for wearing the same dress. Maud. While taking a shower, Maud is hurt and humiliated to see a peeping Tom painting her bathroom window black. See that? You got to say something that'll get people to watch. Laverne and Shirley. Laverne thinks she's developing a beer belly until Squiggy admits he lied about his vasectomy. Battle of the Network Superstars. Lee Majors, the $6 million man, challenges Lindsay Wagner, the bionic woman, to a tug of war using Jimmy J.J. Walker as the rope. Captain Kangaroo for children's show. Mr. Green Jeans sits on a pitchfork as the captain explains the concept of pain. Here's one. Wild Kingdom. Marlon Perkins loses an arm on an alligator hunt, so Jim Fowler is put in charge of waving goodbye at the end of the show. Welcome back, Cotter. Mr. Cotter gets a mysterious phone call telling him one of the sweat hogs is gay. He investigates and finds out all of the sweat hogs are gay. Tomorrow, Tom Snyder. From Hollywood, scheduled guest Rip Taylor, the man, the legend, and the people he attracts. Marcus Welby. Dr. Marcus Welby makes medical history when he calls in a proctologist to remove a brain tumor. The Galloping Gourmet. Graham Carr has a little too much wine and fricassees a rubber chicken. The undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. Captain Cousteau investigates the sex life of the clam by hiding in a conch shell and imitating a clam in heat. Charlie's Angels. Sabrina, Kelly, and Chris tell Charlie to kiss off and then move in with a pimp named Leroy. Here's some of the shows.
Not covered in the Tracy. Kids are going to do it.
Didn't get it. We have Orson Bean, very funny Robert Klein, Kelly Garrett, and Irma Bombeck, who's a delight. We'll take a short time out, and we'll be right back.
Guess who's coming for a visit?
Uh-oh, Uncle Emery.
Sarah, this dessert isn't good enough for Tucker in.
The gingerbread's not finished, Emery. To me, it's just not dessert without the great fresh taste of Cool Whip.
Does taste fresh.
I wouldn't use anything else.
Now, it's not only good enough for guests, it's good enough for family.
Emery, a compliment from you.
Cool Whip, non-dairy whipped topping.
It's just not dessert without the great fresh taste of Cool Whip.
What happens when people taste grape nut cereal for the first time?
I like it because it's crunchy. It's delicious. I wish I could tell you what it tastes like.
It reminds me of nuts because it's crunchy, because it's sweet like nuts. It's got the texture of nuts.
Very natural. Delicious natural taste.
Post Grape Nuts is a natural cereal fortified with vitamins. It has the crunchy, nutty taste people like.
It crunches forever.
The Band of 1,000 Faces.
Thousand Melodies.
What?
Thousand Melodies.
Was there a band called so-and-so and the Band of
Was
1,000
it
Melodies?
Walk? What? Beg pardon? The Band of 1,000 Melodies.
So-and-so, the Band of 1,000 Melodies?
Larry Funk.
Larry Funk.
Larry
Funk
Funk
and the Band of 1,000
Melodies.
Coming to you from the Aragon Ballroom.
That's right. I heard a record today coming up by Bob Chester and his orchestra. Remember that orchestra?
Mhm.
It's a good band.
Yeah.
Good band. It's always a pleasure to welcome Orson Bean to the show. He's a bright, intelligent guy. He's always got a lot of things to say about everything. And he plays one of the leading speaking roles. Speaking? Yeah, speaking roles. That threw me for a moment because it's an animated fantasy called The Hobbit. Hobbit. What would you think that would be derived from? Rabbit and
Rabbit.
And a habit?
And a hobby horse.
A rabbit and a hobby horse. And you would get...
You said it was a fantasy.
A hobbit.
Yeah.
Let's see how close we are. Maybe it's a cross between a horse and a rabbit.
Might be.
Would that be a hobbit?
Could be. It's a fantasy. We can make it up any way we want.
Well, why don't we ask the man who really is
He
in
might
that
have an
show?
idea or an inkling.
Anyway, that's this Sunday. No, it's not this Sunday. It's November 27th, which is the Sunday...
That follows this Sunday.
What? It's the Sunday following one of these Sundays coming up. Fairly close to the end of the month, the 27th. So look backward and work backward 4 days, because 30 days, half September, April, June,
and
November.
All except leap year. When February has
all
29.
Except February, which has 28, but every 4 years.
Yeah.
You know why they did that? You know why?
Yes, I do. But
why
you
they
explain to
changed
them.
that calendar to the Gregorian calendar?
I know why, but tell them.
Why? Why?
Because there's a quarter of a day in time left over at the end of every 365 days. So every 4 years, they catch up with that quarter day and add a day on and get straight again.
Yeah. But actually, you see, the Earth is slowing down. And now I have a lady in the balcony, Dr. IQ, for 3 Mars bars and 4 tickets the next week. Also, the Earth is slowing down a second every year.
Do you expect to live long enough to see February 30th?
No, it'll be about 3,000 years before they have to readjust
why hang around?
adjust your watch, and your watch will be
You'll
shot
be
to
off
hell
this
by
show
then.
by then.
Anyway, Orson is on this thing that we talked about, the 27th. Why don't we get him out here before he ages too much? Would you welcome Orson Bean? You must, I give lengthy introductions at times, because right in the middle of something occurs to me, and I...
That introduction was longer than Star Wars.
You know, I'm one of the few people who hasn't seen Star Wars yet. I haven't seen it.
Well, you should see it in the 35 millimeter.
That's what I understand. You really should see it in a big theater.
I haven't seen it in that yet either, but I want to go back and see it in that now. My kids have seen it 6 times each.
Yeah, some people rave about it, and I've heard other people say they didn't care for it. It's funny how you get complete streams.
That much of a build-up, you know. When I went to see My Fair Lady the first time, I was kind of let down. Then I saw it years later, another time I said, oh, they were right, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's overly sold sometimes, and you're expecting so much that they can't live up to the billing.
Yes.
Speaking of Star Wars and so forth, did you read about the other day the astronomer that discovered possibly the 10th planet?
Yes, another planet.
A very small planet, about 100 or 200 miles in diameter. I think it's orbiting between Uranus and Saturn out there.
Wherever it is, I don't know.
And he gets the privilege of naming it, but he won't tell anybody yet.
Is he going to name it Clyde or something? Or would it...
I suggested Murray the other night.
Murray, the planet?
Well, you got Venus, Mercury, Mars, Pluto, you know, and Murray.
Murray.
No, he said he's going to go back to the traditional mythological some figures, and we'll name it after that.
That
That's
would
very
be great.
interesting.
When is it big enough to be a planet and small enough to be just a rock or an asteroid? I guess there's a difference, though, size aside, isn't there?
Yeah, there are small pieces. I think Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, is a large piece of rock, which could be considered a minor planet, which orbits the Earth.
Yeah.
But it's not considered one of the major planets, although it does orbit the Earth, and it's several hundred miles.
It looks like a star, doesn't it? Isn't that the dog star?
No.
No. What is the dog star? I thought Ceres was the dog star, isn't it?
Well, planets and stars aren't the same.
Well, I know they're not, but
Yeah.
sometimes they look alike up there. Mars looks like a star in the sky.
The only way you can tell the difference
What?
is that when you go out, I think it's Jupiter is visible now, or Mars.
Yes.
You go out, they don't blink. If you look up, you ever see that? And the steady light that doesn't blink?
Because it's so much brighter.
That's a planet.
Yeah.
Because it's reflected light.
But the blinking is actually caused by our atmosphere.
That's true, but the
So
star...
why wouldn't that blink too, then?
Because the star is made of gas, and the other is just showing reflected light, like the moon.
Yes. Well, the stars should take something, then. That's
Yeah.
all I can say.
Stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the... Yes, okay. I don't know why we got into that. You mentioned Star Wars,
Yes.
and that kicked me off into astronomy.
Yes.
Do you want to start off with a joke tonight?
Oh, I
We have
suppose.
kind of a routine we do every time I say Orson comes on and tells what we call a joke.
A joke.
With no attempt at sneaking into the conversation,
No.
just a joke.
Right. A grizzled sergeant in the Army receives a telegram that the mother of one of his men has unfortunately passed away. This is the 30-year man. What does he know from finesse? He walks out onto the drill field. He says, "Hey, Martinez, your mother died." And the poor guy goes like this, and a captain is going by. He says, "Sergeant," he says, "these are human beings." He says, "This is the new army." He says, "You don't do it that way." He says, "Never let me hear you handle anything like this again." He says, "I'm sorry, Captain." 6 weeks later, the same sergeant receives another telegram. He frets. He walks around his desk. What can he do? Gets an idea. Walks out onto the drill field. Says, "All right, men, fall in." He says, "Stand hut." He says, "All right. All you men whose mothers are still living, take one step forward. Not so fast, O'Brien."
Finesse. Okay, we'll take a short break. We're coming right back. Go away. We got a lot of show for you.
Hi-ho, your Admiral here. I don't always watch cartoons. Carried away with your new Admiral television? Well, kinda. Yeah. Now look at that great color. Just one button controls all the reds, greens, and blues automatically. Oh. Funny little rascals. May I join you? Oh, please do. Thank you.
Don't just get a television, get an Admiral. Quality from Rockwell International.
Did you see that guy in 4B? Give me a certs.
Just did.
I know, but it's gone.
Certs keeps on working, even after the candy's gone.
You sure?
Sure. Take the certs breath test. Breathe in. Feel a cool, clean taste?
Mm-hmm.
That tells you certs with Fretson is still working to keep your breath fresh.
Your lunch, sir?
Certs, 2 mints in 1. It keeps on working even after the candy's gone.
We were being kind of silly about The Hobbit, but this is a rather well-known series of books.
They are a big thing with the college kids. The Hobbit has outsold Catcher in the Rye among college kids.
Really?
It's amazing and extraordinary. That's a book of it, and those drawings are from the NBC special that Xerox put together. And it's wonderful. There's what that's what a Hobbit looks like, and I play the voice of the Hobbit.
There's the Hobbit.
There is a Hobbit.
No
Hobbits are half as big as human beings, half as
Right.
tall, and have fur on the tops of their feet, and they're marvelous little creatures who live rather middle-class existences and don't want any trouble, but they have one failing in their character, which is that when adventure comes knocking, they cannot refuse, and they go off and they hate themselves for it, but they get into adventures.
You know, while you're saying that, I just thought of something. I think you might agree with it. Talk about the Hobbit and the creatures, and I was thinking of the schmooze from Al Cap. And I don't think, we should let it pass, although it was mentioned in the paper. But I think for, 43 years?
Yes.
Little Abner was, most of us grew up with Little Abner, and it became institutions and the characters. And Al Cap retired the other day from doing the strip, and we're not going to see it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be just nice to say to Al Cap, if he's watching tonight, thanks for 43 years of
thanks.
tremendous,
Beautiful
drawing. I hadn't thought of it till you mentioned this.
That's nice.
It really became It became part of Americana. You just accepted it every day. But can you imagine turning out strip after strip, years in and years out? And he finally just, I think Al has a little emphysema, and he just got tired doing it. And he just decided, rather than let other artists continue it.
Imagine the things that he did that became part of the language, like Evil Eye Flegel.
Yes.
And Joe Bluxfluff, or whatever, that little guy with the rain cloud over
Yeah,
him.
Blitzvik. No, there were no, all consonants. There were no vowels in there.
Yes.
The little guy had and the schmooze.
Yes.
Kickapoo Joy Juice.
Yes.
Lonesome Polecat.
Fearless Joe, his friend.
Fearless Fosdick.
Yes.
You can go on, and it's incredible. They became part of the language. I mean, Sadie Hawkins' Day.
Oh, I know.
On college campuses all over the world, they had it annually. So he left quite a heritage.
He certainly did.
I just wanted to mention that. This brought it to mind.
That's nice. I'm glad you did that.
So, The Hobbit.
Yeah.
You play what kind of a voice? How does one? Well, I guess we got a film clip.
There's a little film clip, and you can see I didn't really make up a voice. I got into The Hobbit. I had read it. And
you just get into
and I just kind of got into being a Hobbit. You know, he's a little fussy, but he changes and he grows because there's a lot of adventures that he has, and there's a lot of carnage that goes on. There are wars in it and everything. It's not
speaking
just
that, it's funny doing voices because I think I've mentioned this once, but forgive me for interrupting. Then we'll see the film clip. It's fun if you ever go to a studio where actors are dubbing voices for cartoons.
Right.
That is a show in itself, because most of them are adults. They're character actors who do multiple voices.
Yes.
And it's like Paul Frees, who's a friend of mine, who does the Pillsbury Doughboy. Yeah. And here's a middle-aged man, and you'll go in and they'll be looking up at the screen and lip-syncing or doing the dialogue with the cartoon. Yeah. And here's a grown man going, "It's the Pillsbury Doughboy." Yeah. And he's got a tie and a vest and a suit, and he has to walk out like a normal human being, and it's ho, ho, ho. And it's a riot watching these people stand around doing these voices.
Oh, I know.
Because you have to get into the feeling, and they're watching, and they're moving, and they're animated, and doing the voices.
I saw one of the wildest things I ever saw, even wilder than that, was a brace of CBS executives, grown men, arguing over a script of a now defunct short-lived series called Gallucci's Department or something, about the language. In this new age of permissiveness, they were able to say things more. And these grown men with neckties and suits, real people, were saying, "You got 2 doo-doos and a poo-poo. You can't have that." It's just, "Well, you got already. You had 3 in the other seat. You can't get. I'll give you 1 poo-poo. You'll give me the doo-doo in this seat." Grown men, I couldn't believe
You strike the tinkle, I'll give you a doo-doo.
Yeah,
I mean, those things take place. Believe me, they take place.
And they were mad, yelling on each other.
Grown men executives.
Take out the tinkle, then. I don't need it. Who needs it?
Okay, let's show the film clip of The Hobbit, which is coming up November the 27th.
Yes.
Here it is.
Dwarves have a strange notion of perfection. And where's Gandalf? Gone again? I wish I was a wizard. Ah, hey. Hello. What's this? Look out! The ponies! The ponies! Wake up! We're being robbed!
The goblins are upon us! Save the ponies from the goblins! The goblins have
Goblins squawk and goblins beat, goblins laugh and goblins bleat. Hammer, yammer, whip and hammer, oh! Behold my land, oh, my land. Black, 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 black. Down, down, the goblin, down, 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 the goblin, down, 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 the goblin, down. You go, my land, oh, my land.
That's charming. What they do with animation.
Yeah. That's very full animation, too. That's,
Animation has come a long way since the early days of the old little black and white cartoons with the music and actors going in, and then the score, using a full symphony orchestra to score something.
This thing is the fullest animation since the early Disney Snow White and like that.
Fantasia and things.
Yeah, and all of those.
Those are really works of art, aren't they?
Marvelous people doing the voices. John Huston plays the wizard in it, and Otto Preminger is in it. marvelous, you know, character, despicable character. And Richard Boone is the dragon in it.
Oh,
And
that's
Cyril
funny.
Richard, all good people.
I'd love to see that recording session, because that's the fun part.
Oh, I
sitting
know,
around,
yes.
reading these lines and playing a dragon or something.
I know, yeah, it was wonderful.
I think all actors basically are childlike, in a way. They have the childlike curiosity and are not afraid to act childlike in a situation.
It's really fun when you can get it.
To assume another character. I
Yeah.
did a thing once on the children's, what was the name of that? About the little mouse that, it was a famous story.
Oh, by E.B. White?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
The mouse.
I played the mouse.
Oh, you played the mouse?
Yes. It was a few years ago. It was on a Saturday morning show.
It's about a human mother that has a child, and the child is a mouse.
Yeah, and I played a mouse. And I had more fun. Because I'm sitting at the microphone going, and then we went down to the thing, and I didn't know. I'm saying, a grown man sitting here doing dum-de-dum-de-dum. But all of a sudden, you were like 3 years old again.
Yeah, that's grand.
They had an article in the New York Times, I think, recently about you, saying that...
I wrote it,
You said,
actually.
yes, that's right, about...
That's why it was about me.
That's why it was about you. You wouldn't write about Rip Taylor.
The man, the legend, and the
No,
people
I'm
he
not
attracts.
kidding. Rip Taylor. Rip Taylor's a funny guy.
Of course, he's
a funny man.
Yes.
Anyway, with Thanksgiving coming up, they always ask people, you know, what are you thankful for that you have? What's your most important possessions and so forth? And you had an interesting theory, not a theory, lifestyle, and saying, well, you didn't have possessions that meant all that much to you.
I was thankful for things that I do not have, such as insurance policies, a career.
Well, I can hardly
Money
say.
put aside for... I don't really have a career. I decided some years ago that I didn't want to pursue a career anymore.
On a regular basis.
Right. So I do all the kinds of things like your show and the dumb afternoon game shows that
Hollywood
people
Squares,
come
see?
on in order to plug their careers, but I ain't got nothing to plug. I just sit here. You know, people say, what are you doing? And I say...
And that was a selection because I know you can work as much as you want to.
Yeah, and I choose to, you know, give my children the memory of a happy father sitting around in his underwear sucking a can of beer, you know, rather than off working all day.
But there's nothing you miss. I mean, materially,
Not at all.
possessions
Really?
don't account for them.
And
And they really shouldn't, I suppose.
Right, and when I realized that since there is no future, the future is a concept. It's always now. You know that.
Of course.
I mean, you can imagine 2 seconds from now, but now when the 2 seconds comes, it's now. It's the same now it was 2 seconds ago. Today is the tomorrow we worried about yesterday. You can imagine a week from Thursday, but when a week from Thursday comes, it's now. There never comes a time when you say, well, this is the future. It's always now. So any money put aside for the future is lost money. You are gambling when you buy life insurance that you're going to have the good fortune to be sick or dead. And if you have the bad fortune to be alive, well, and carrying on, you've blown all that money. So I don't have no more life insurance.
I think it was first expressed that way by Mona Freeman, if I remember. I don't know why, just a name came up. I know what you're saying. Now is now.
Absolutely, and it's always now. There
And
never
the
is
future we were talking about a
Yes.
second ago has passed.
That's right. And it was a concept when we were talking about it. It was an idea. It was never a reality. The future never comes. So if you learn to handle now, you've got life licked, say. And if I conk out and leave a fortune in money that I've slaved in order to leave for my old lady to run away to Puerto Vallarta with the delivery boy from Stop and Shop, I am a fool.
You don't want her down there on one of those cruises saying, waiter, another banana daiquiri.
Right.
You know. Well, here's to Orson. Sure.
If she wants
you
to
see
run...
a lot of widows on ocean liners. You ever notice that?
And they're all smiling.
Saying, oh, cabin boy.
Yeah, that's right.
And the guy is long gone. Allstate gave him the money and a right to the ship.
I want to know.
Tennis.
I want to know.
That's why
that
women live longer.
That's right.
The guys die trying to get save up for the insurance premiums.
Statistically, we died 10 years earlier. I want to know that if
71, they said last week.
Yeah, and the women live till what?
81, 82.
Yes, of course.
Gives them an additional 10 years to go. Boy!
I want to know that that delivery boy from Stop and Shop is really turned on to her and isn't after my money, so I am doing Carolyn the favor of not leaving her any.
Your logic in other words, she buys this?
She absolutely buys it, because I figure that the chances are overwhelming that I'm going to be living till a ripe old age, working all my life, as much work as I want to do, and I figured out once that about 40% of all the money I had to earn goes for a non-existent future. And when I figured that out, we canceled all the bank accounts that we had lovingly put away money for the kids' college education for.
Right.
I mean, a few years from now, when they're old enough to go to college, if they want to go and I have the money, I'll be happy to give it to them. If I don't have the money, I'll say, don't go.
Or
I don't care, become a plumber and make more money.
That's right. Go to work, earn your way through
Of course,
college.
or get a scholarship.
Somebody once said, I don't know, probably the name is not right, Walter Chrysler, somebody, one of the giants, when he was very old, said the worst thing you can do to your children is to leave vast amounts of money
Of course.
to people, because then,
Yes.
you know, half the time a lot of people end up becoming bums.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
you're saving your children from becoming bums.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
They may not have bread, but they will not be bums.
At least they will know who their father was when they grow up. I heard that song "Cat's Cradle" the other day. What a brilliant song! You know that you know, the song about the father that never has time to play ball with the little boy.
Right.
Harry Chapin sings it. You know, and at least my kids. I've spent more time with my young son Zeke, who's 6 years old already, than most fathers do spend with their children in their entire lives.
I like the life insurance commercials on television, speaking about that. Boy, they really get to you.
Oh, yes.
Shows the kid, you know, going to work at a luncheonette, you know,
Yes.
there's the sign on the door.
Yes.
He said, I was going to go to college. Dad had put, you know, but we didn't know Dad was going to leave us.
Yeah.
And now he goes into this luncheonette with a broom sweeping it up, and you go,
Oh,
ah.
yeah.
But the ones I really love are the ones where they have the tornado. Have you seen that life insurance commercial?
No.
The roof is just now coming off of the house.
Yes.
And the insurance man is already there.
Yes. Right.
Belongings are flying out the window in the wind, and this guy is talking with this couple.
Yes.
How did he get there so soon? He's there while the tornado
In
is
real
tearing the
life,
house.
it may take him a few minutes longer.
I don't think he's going to be there while the roof is leaving.
We don't have fire insurance either. I refuse to put any money into it. I enjoy the house while I have it, and if it burns down tomorrow, I will take it as a sign from God that it's time to move on.
That's a
Have
definite
another
sign.
adventure.
Definite sign.
Yes.
God is...
Absolutely. Have another adventure.
Okay. What would you... It's the old psychological question. Your house is on fire.
Yes.
You have time to go back in
Yes.
and grab one possession.
Yes.
What would you take?
Oh, well, there's only one piece of artwork that I care anything about, which is a large winged fertility symbol that my old lady once gave me for Christmas. It's a,
That's it?
yes, and that's, but that only cost $14, you know, and that was just because
That's interesting, what people would go in, and what would you grab?
Don't go back. That's my...
No, I'm saying, assuming that it was safe and you had time to
Well, I debated that. I had a life-size bust of W.C. Fields. There's only one other in the world, and I had
right.
one.
Yes.
I debated that and elected not to go back in.
Yes.
And it saved my life.
Well, that's smart.
Seriously.
Well, I was being theoretical, because
Well,
you should never go back
no.
into a burning building unless you are already on
Loved
fire.
ones or animals.
In which case you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
That's right. If
Yeah.
you-
You might as
Loved
well...
ones or animals.
Yeah,
That's
if
right.
If you're on fire, you might as well save the bust. It shouldn't
That's
be a
right.
total loss.
Never thought of that. Think about that myself.
Well, how about you?
I don't...
You can tell us. You told me once one night very late, but go tell me.
I would try to find the fire insurance policy. You know, to see if I'm covered for that particular... You know that joke about being on fire? Somebody once, I don't know who originally told the joke about the guy who was brought up in front of the judge.
Right.
For, he was accused of smoking in bed and setting the bed on fire.
Yes.
And he got off because he told the judge the bed was already on fire when he got into it.
Really?
No, it's just a joke, but it's weird.
That's like the French joke. You know, the English and the French people hate each other. I think this is all right. And the French love to tell the joke about the guy who was dragged into court and accused of gaining carnal knowledge of a woman who was no longer alive. And his successful defense is that he didn't know the woman was dead. He thought she was English. Sorry about that.
Mail your cards and letters to Mr. Orson Bean at his uninsured house. We'll be right back after this break with Robert Klein.
Some people always seem to look terrific. But me, if I don't feel good, I don't think I look good. So when a headache ruins my sleep, I think it shows in the morning. But you know, there's a pain reliever made for the headache that keeps you awake. Excedrin PM. Excedrin PM not only relieves the headache and its tension, it gives you extra help to relax for a good night's sleep. So you should wake up feeling really good. For pain relief and help to sleep, try Excedrin PM. Because in the morning, you may only look as good as you feel.
I clean my oven during the daytime with Easy Off.
Let me introduce you to Mr. Muscle's overnight method. It's got 2 advantages in one: less work and less fumes.
How can it work that hard and also have less fumes?
That's why Mr. Muscle's special. It has 50% less fumes than Easy Off. Spray at night. Its self-scouring foam lifts up baked-on grime. Next day, just wipe clean.
That is less work.
Try Mr. Muscle. Aerosol or trigger spray. It's less work with 50% less fumes.
We're just discussing various things here. Okay. My next guest I always look forward to. He's a bright, inventive, creative gentleman. He's been on the road for the past couple of months. By on the road, I don't mean he's been out on the road. He's been in the show business. That means you've been traveling. And he's going to be appearing at the Hunter College Auditorium in New York on Sunday, the 20th of November, and in a PBS film called The Secret Space on the 4th of December. Would you welcome, please, Robert Klein.
Shah of Iran, speaking of the Shah, well, Henny Youngman's technique worked so well for him that I thought that maybe it could be updated with a blues. Shah of Iran was making the rounds, there's no question. He did the McNeil Lehrer Report, he did the Today Show, he's doing a Merv, a Dinah, he's doing a Hollywood Squares, he's doing a Joker is Wild, he's doing. I'm happy to be here tonight because it's a Thursday night, and anyone on this show can tell you that Thursday night, the best people come. Now, these guys are here every night, Thursday night. For some reason, the hippest, best people. I have nothing against last. You see the Wednesday night people last night? The Thursday night people. Why did Ann Blythe do a Twinkies commercial a few years ago? I could never figure that out. I couldn't think of a more inappropriate commercial for her. Twinkies. I'm sure she serves them to all her friends in Beverly Hills. Have a Twinkie, Mildred. They're so good, you know. Suck your tonsils down to your toenails with that thing. There's nothing more lonely than a ventriloquist without his dummy. It looks so silly. Hey, fella, how are you? You know, and they just pull up and down, and there's absolutely nothing there. I, on the contrary, have life insurance, the most depressing. You're absolutely right, Orson. The most depressing. It's a form of gambling, isn't it, life insurance? I'll bet you $20 a month till you die that you don't die. Now, they used to use euphemisms for the word death. They never used to say death. It used to be things like, what if you're not there, young man? You know, a very subtle thing with a guy pushing his little girl. Insurance is love. Insurance is giving. Daddy, I want to go to medical school when I grow up. Does that cost money? No, honey. Insurance is Daddy, I want a big wedding. Is that expensive? No, honey. You know, it'll make you crazy. And then they kill you in a cinematic way. What if you're not there, young man? Like an X in front of your head. Or they break a mirror, or a freeze frame, or no one pushing your daughter suddenly, you know. What if you're not there, young man? One thing, I won't give a damn. How's that? Be dead. One of the only advantages of the big D, a second after it happens, I don't care. Before, you'll feel like a heel. I'm sorry I didn't buy life insurance. I left you at a lousy store that loses money. I don't care. And the I don't care is so much longer than the other part. Now, no more metaphors, no more euphemisms, rather. Now they say, the one you brought up there, yes, I'm delivering pizza and I have a PhD, but I didn't think that Dad would die. How's that? That's during the commercial of a football game. That's entertainment for you. I suggest going to the bathroom every time there's a timeout in the football. They're really getting it. It was a day just like this when Bill and I bought this cabin. We planned a future, we planned a thing. We didn't plan that Bill would die. Nothing's really changed. I'm a hooker in New Orleans now. My children work for a Middle Eastern potentate as pornographic models. But nothing really has changed because we didn't get life insurance. A slight sledgehammer approach, you know. Shouldn't think that Bill... Now, the one you mentioned with the house that blew down, that lady is so stoic. She's so lovely. It happened in Kansas or something, and, well, our house blew down, and Allstate came very quickly. In fact, they were there 3 days before the hurricane. They had another house in the backyard waiting to put an end, you know. At least I'm not a hooker in New Orleans, you know. She just sees the best part of everything, and... Now, the football metaphor is one of the big insurance companies, naturally, during football games, and they have this thing where they're on your team. They got a bunch of football ex-players that are models now. Come on, Herbie needs financial security. This little twerp with spectacles there, harrying the ball. Get financial security for Herbie, and they'll block out financial woes. It's a very simplistic approach. There's a financial woe. Kick it. It's a financial woe. You know, block out financial woes. And the guy's wife is screaming from the stands with her veins bursting, Herbie, get financial security! I don't want to be a hooker in New Orleans, Herbie! The guy just about makes the touchdown. Now they have a woman, too. She got financial security, you know. In real life, they'll let you get tackled. Break your fibia like Fran did. My face is pink, my eyes are blue, my behind is purple, my finger's pink. Try tuning your set now, chump. You know, it's my German ambulance. This is I was at Gettysburg College recently and felt so historical. And this is the night before the battle Civil War movie with the guy playing the harmonica around the campfire. It's a horse. Where you from, boy? Virginia, sir. It's not a horse, it's just a guy going, but there's a difference, a slight. Ever been in a battle before, boy? No, sir, but I'm aiming to. Boy? Yes, sir. You better stop playing that damn harmonica.
Funny.
Hello, Ed.
You got a funny mind. Really.
Thank you. You were starting to talk about that
Isn't
backstage.
that strange? I was saying to Orson when I said Bob came in, I had no idea he was talking about insurance. It's one of those things you fall into. Then you start talking about insurance. I said, oh, my God. Yeah. But you had a lot of funny concepts there that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, it was great.
We'll be right back. We're going to take a short break.
At West Bend, you told us you wanted a space-saving drip coffee maker at an attractive price. The newest West Bend Quick Drip 10 or 12 cup model saves you money from the start with this permanent polyester filter. You set a single control, you got it. Brews great coffee fast. The Quick Drip you helped design from West Bend, where craftsmen still care. At West Bend, we recommend ADC brand coffee, only from Maxwell House.
Little oven spoonfuls, yummy, yummy, yummy. Little oven spoonfuls, yummy, yummy, yummy.
Introducing new Little Oven Spoonfuls cat food. Little cans with delicious gourmet recipes so moist, so meaty, they're spoon-licking good.
I love to lick, lick, lick my spoon. I love to lick, lick, lick my spoon. I love to lick, lick, lick my spoon. I love to lick.
New Little Oven Spoonfuls. Spoon-licking good.
It's like singing the hymn in church when everybody, stops. The old when you're like this, and everybody else quitting, your voice pierces the rest of the thing. How have you been traveling in colleges, lots of college days?
Last 2 months intensive, yeah, lots of colleges.
No.
Not steadily. I'm always home too, but I pop out and do 2 and 3 and 4 a week. I'm exhausted, but I'm going to stop soon. And
don't you find those college audiences really great to work for?
Oh, they're the greatest. And a lot of times the community comes, too. I keep on stressing. It's not only, there are some grown-ups that come in there, and they enjoy it, too. This film that I'm doing is going to be on PBS.
Yeah, what is it?
I'm not going to plug it more than that. I'm not a very good plugger, you know.
Well, you shouldn't be here, then.
The best plugger I ever saw, remember Steve Allen's Cash Register when they were doing a plug? That was funny. Kirk Douglas was about the best I've ever seen on Cuckoo's Nest.
I did that once with Jane, who am I thinking of? Jane Mansfield years ago. I don't know whether Steve had done it either, but I bought one of those little toy cash registers, and I put it down at the side, and Jane used to come on and says, well, I just came from Mr. Kenneth's beauty salon, and I'd hit the cash register, and my dress is by, and we total up like, you know, and it was just one big long...
Oh, yeah.
You can't do those anymore. They're FCC.
But he managed to get the name Cuckoo's Nest into every second sentence, you know. Like, how you feeling, Kirk? Oh, just cuckoo. And Cuckoo's Nest. And he was on a lot. And he was on a lot with his son, Michael. And someone said, was Michael a hard child to discipline? No, he was always wonderful. He showed, as he did as producer of Cuckoo's Nest. You know, he's kooky and cuckoo. And, do you have any pets? A cuckoo clock. You got a cuckoo cotton.
It's not easy to work that into a conversation.
Well, it's not easy being on the other side either when trying to let people graciously... One time, I was, many years ago, when Frost had a show, and I hosted a couple of days, and George Hamilton hosted a couple of days. And Hamilton was he's a good-looking guy, you know, and he was kind of vain and didn't want to wear his glasses. And he had... Now, you know, hosts get caught looking at questions.
Sure.
This is the weakness. They go, how long have you been a juggler? There's a lot of looking down. When did the picture first get started? Well, he wanted to play both sides. You know, he had a clipboard, and he wanted to look good. Now, one of the guests was Harold Krenz, who's a terrific... I don't know if he's been on the show. Harold is a Harvard law graduate, and he was the subject after whom Butterflies Are Free was written. He happens to be blind. You know, that's the last thing anyone says. Huh?
Leonard Gershplay, didn't he write that? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a very witty guy, and he was on the show, and he has great stories about how he pitched. He was blind in a Harvard baseball game, and he pitched behind the guy, the batter, 3 times. The guy says, "You blind?" He says, "As a matter of fact, I am." You know, he had great stories. And Hamilton was supposed to lead him into these stories, and Hamilton got caught and didn't want to wear his glasses too, and looked down at the sheet and really got and actually asked this question. He said, "Are there any disadvantages to being blind?" And Harold is so hip, he could have really let him have it with, but no, not really, George. Certain types of neurosurgery and landing a 747 is about all. But he let him down easy. You know?
I have a story I've never told on the air, but since we've been on this show for a long time, when Ed and I used to do a show years ago out in New York called Who Do You Trust? It was a comedy interview show. We had a little gimmick at the end, and they would win a cookie or whatever. The idea was to bring people on, do some jokes, and so forth. And as was our wont at that time, we would go to Sardi's and have a few little belts. We'd maybe tape 2 or 3 of these a day. I don't know why I'm telling this, because I guess I don't hit the sauce anymore. But we'd put together a few jars, really pretty well bombed. And we came in to do one of these, and I kept asking the people the same questions. And it was a famous show. I'd say, where are you from? We're Mr. and Mrs. Whippet, and we're from, Philadelphia. And I'd say, what do you do? And the fellow says, well, I work for so-and-so. How long have you been married? 27 years. And I would say, just straight west, where are you folks from? And the guy would say, we're from Philadelphia. What do you do down there? And it went on for about... And it got to be hysterical because the audience apparently thought I was being amusing by doing that, and I was just repeating the same question. I said, are you folks married? And the guy would go. He was on the floor. I don't know where the interview ended up. I wish we had them on. It was highlight, live days, you know. Live. We'll be right back after this. Live.
For over 60 years, the Frankfurter has been drowned, incinerated, but never really fulfilled until the Presto hot dog or electric hot dog cooker cooks 1 to 5 hot dogs from the inside out in just 60 seconds.
Now that's a hot dog.
The 60-second answer to a 60-year-old problem, the hot dogger from Presto. Innovation to make it first. Quality that makes it last.
If you're like a lot of folks faced with rising home fuel costs, you're probably thinking about insulating your home. Well, before you do, read this booklet, almost all about home insulating. It's available to you free from the Home Foamers, America's largest network of foam insulation specialists. Do you know what kinds of insulation are available to you? Or which parts of the job you can do yourself? Well, it's all here, and it's all free. So write for yours today.
You mentioned you were a little tired because traveling city to city doing one nights or two nights is very enervating. How do you kill time on the road? I mean, you spend a lot of time in the, Holiday Inns counting the roses and the wallpaper and the tiles in the bay. You really...
Well, I try to minimize that. I mean, I have to stay overnight, but I did dash right home. I just came out here in my apartment. My car, I haven't started in 2.5 months. It had cobwebs on it out here. And I had the guy, the garage man, lent me a 56 Chrysler, a bomb. I never saw anything like it. And I drove it here. I read. I'm working on my new album. I'm writing various things, short stories. We watch a lot of television, mostly offbeat stuff, like stuff I never saw the first time around, like Gilligan's Island.
Oh, yeah, they're still playing.
Hogan's Heroes. I'm appalled, in one sense, by Hogan's Heroes. I think it's a little bit of a ripoff of a great play and movie called Stalag 17. But more importantly, the Nazis are a little too cute in it. They're adorable, these guys. What do you got there, Hogan? Beep, 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 beep. Nothing, Schultz. Beep, 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 beep. Is that the radio? Beep, beep. Nothing. It's just me going beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, if they were that dumb, the war would have been over in 48 hours.
You'll wonder, when that show first came on, I said, it's very strange because they made them comedy characters and it ran for 6 years.
Talented people, and I understand its appeal, but I mean, there was one the other day where he got to go to Paris if he promised to come back. Come off it, will you? One time, okay, Hogan, but only if you return. Okay, Colonel, no problem. There was one time I had lunch at Desi Lukuenga, where they were shooting that show, 10 years ago with Kay Ballard, who was doing something, Desi on there, mother-in-law's. She was a wonderful woman, Kay Ballard. And I was having lunch with her, and suddenly 24 Nazi officers walked into the lunchroom, the commissary. And I went, I thought I was going to check out completely. It was such a traumatic thing to see these Nazolas walking in, and they were only kidding around. I noticed another thing the other night. I had never seen a show, I think it's NBC, isn't it? Grizzly Bear?
Grizzly Adams.
Grizzly
There was
Adams.
another show called Gentle Ben, which was also
Oh, there was a different bear. I think he was not a carnivore.
They're in a bear cycle now.
That was an herbivorous bear. I think it was more of a blood. This one, take your arm, rip it off in a second. Now, the thing that I noticed about it was I didn't mind the anthropomorphic approach, that is, treating the bear like a person.
Right.
I'm really sophisticated. Like, the boy is all right, Ben. He needed an appendectomy, but the girl is resting comfortably, and the bear approves. The thing that really bothered me is why did the narrator... The narrator, there's an old man narrating, and in that kind of pseudo-quaint way, they use... This is where I get a little like Tony Randall. I'm sorry to say, a little bit professorial, but, But why did the guy have to use such poor grammar? Trillions of kids watching. Granted, this is better and more quality entertainment for children than somebody shooting someone's face off with a magnum, But the guy goes, well, it was quite a while before Ben brung another young cub down. Why couldn't he say brought? Does it cost him anything? And Ben throwed quite a temper tantrum. Why couldn't he throw a temper tantrum? Because Johnny goes out and says throw and crew and throw, and the English language goes in the tubes.
You are getting rather pedantic tonight, aren't you?
Well, I watched the show last night, that's why.
Oh, I see.
I learned so much watching this last night.
I always loved those old Westerns, and they're having the Gene Autry reruns now around, we all saw as kids. And I would love it. There was always a scene where they were in jail, and they called the horse. Actually would whistle, and the horse would come up to the bars. And, the whole village could be standing behind the jail. Nobody ever guarded that window. And Gene would say, look, what was it, Champion? Is that the name of the horse? Go over to Ben's and tell him, and the horse is standing there going like this. And then get Gabby and meet us out in front, and the horse goes and gallops off. And we bought that. Yeah, like the horse was actually going to go over and get the sheriff and tell him.
Not to mention that a horse is not too adept at ripping steel bars out of concrete. He's liable to pull back in real life and leave his head at the window. Pull back to the torso.
Short break. We'll come back. Irma Bombeck will join us.
I may be retired from the force, but I ain't retired from the action. Right, Leona? Leona knows. I got me a Regency scanner. Lets me listen to police, fire, emergency weather, all the action. It's like being there as it goes down. Leona knows. Want action? Get yourself a Regency.
Suspects are in building now. We're going in.
Get 'em, guys. Get 'em.
There are. Quest backup team.
Regency scanners bring you action.
There's a fragment that's here today, and they call it Charlie. A different fragment that thinks your way, yeah, they call it Charlie. Kinda young, kinda now, Charlie. Kinda free, kinda wow, Charlie. Kind of fragment that's gonna stay, and it's here now, Charlie.
Charlie by Revlon, a most original fragrance.
First, as you mentioned about the graphic depiction of violence now, which they show in movies. They got to show the blood.
Sure.
We were talking about the old days watching Gene Autry, Roy Rogers. Nobody was really ever killed in those things, if you remember. They had a fight and they were knocked unconscious. Or if somebody pulled a gun, oh no, they never shot him. The gun right out of their hand, remember?
Yes, most of the time.
100 yards away, boom, the gun would go like this. They never shot the guy in the hand, just the gun went out of the hand. And you'd buy those things.
Well, it's a fairly hip concept for the star not to take a life. Although it was death, it was very antiseptic and distant. Oh, you know, a little smoke and that's it.
That's all. Oh, this lady is delightful. She is a columnist, best-selling author of several books, including The Grass is Always Greener Over the Septic Tank. Would you welcome Irma Bombeck? It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. How many columns do you write during a... You don't do a column every day, do you?
I do 3 a week.
3 a week?
Mm-hmm. For 13 years.
That's amazing. What happens when you sit down someday and you go dry, as they say? You ever have those days you put the paper in the typewriter and nothing?
It happens to me about 3 times a week.
I didn't set this up. I'm just... No, but we all know, those of us who write comedy, there are days when you feel funny and your mind is working, you know, and things just flow. And there are other days it really becomes grim to pull it out.
I sit at a typewriter a lot, and I sort of try to fill in the time because you have to put in so much time there. So sometimes I will make a wonderful necklace out of paper clips.
Yeah.
And then I will try to pick up the wastebasket with my knees to see if I can do that without dropping it.
That's
I
good.
just busy myself, you know,
little
just to stay
isometrics
there.
with a wastebasket.
Yeah, it's miserable.
Robert Benchley said once, I remember reading this, when he would have a day where he'd have to go down to the newspaper and he would put the paper in the typewriter and try to think of something. And the story's probably apocryphal, but it's funny. And he would start with the word "the." And he'd type that on the paper. Then he would get up and go out to the bar and with some cronies and sit around and come back at the end of the day and finish. Hell with it and go home.
I like that.
That would be it for the whole day.
I work on the reward system a lot, though. If I put my name on the paper, I get a cookie. And then I come back, and if I get the lead written, then I get another cookie. And I just sit there sometimes watch myself grow.
Self-reward, huh?
It just goes.
We got the holidays coming up, Thanksgiving and Christmas, which have become kind of traumatic holidays, especially Christmas. They were joyous. Now people kind of get uptight around holidays for some reason. Do you have any plans for Thanksgiving special?
Well, Thanksgiving.
You do the old-fashioned thing?
No, Thanksgiving, I have a decision to make this year. I can either stay home and do the motherhood bit, you know, cook the turkey, or I can go back to my college reunion. And that sort of poses a problem because I was back there about 3 years ago, and it was really depressing for me because, you know, you can't imagine what it's like to see all these bald, paunchy, overweight people, these jocks just standing around there. And the men look so lousy, too.
On top of it.
On top of it. I figured out at one point that I was the only one there who had stretch marks from overeating. And this has got to be, you know, right. I hate the whole thing about it. You go in.
I've never gone back to a reunion, no. I don't know why.
It's like a ritual. You go back, and the first thing they do, you get in this line for registration, and then they slap one of those name tags. And it is so disconcerting to have someone standing there all night long carrying on a conversation with your left bosom. You know, how many kids do you have now? Terrific, you know, and they're bowing their head.
And I suppose they put your maiden name on so that they'll
I feel
remember
like
you from
naming
school,
the
right?
other one all the time, you know.
To get a little attention.
Yeah, it's just miserable.
Did you ever notice that the people sometimes, I have seen friends, you know in high school, that at the time you would have given anything to be them, football heroes or something, or the prettiest cheerleader, and then 10, 15, 20 years later you see them, and the whole thing has changed about. The cheerleader is not quite as attractive, and as you say, the super jock in high school.
You know what I love, though, is the old girlfriend number. You know, husbands love this sort of thing because they always look pretty terrific. See? So you always go back there and say, hey, wait till you see Jean, you know. I mean, I got to show you. Jean looks like a movie star. I saw Jean on the last reunion. She did look like a movie star. She was a dead ringer for Raymond Massey. She was miserable. I told him, I said, I just kept staring at her all night because I've never seen anyone with a rhinestone flea collar on before in my life.
Women are cruel, cruel.
I know that. I know that. Well, do you?
I'm going to do one commercial here, and we're going to come back and we'll talk about some other things. Stay seated or prone or whatever your position is.
I've probably been to 437 potluck dinners. Same old salads, same old casseroles. Then I thought of LaChoy Oriental vegetables. LaChoy bean sprouts crisp up a salad. LaChoy chopped sweet vegetables in my casserole. And LaChoy water chestnuts turned plain green beans into something special. Just think of it.
LaChoy makes Chinese food. Swing American.
Think of it.
You've heard some famous guys telling you about automatic coffee makers. Now, here's somebody you never heard of telling you about a coffee maker that does more than just brew coffee automatically. GE's Coffee Corner. It has a storage canister that measures out ground coffee from 2 cups to 10, right into the filter basket. You can make your coffee strong to mild, just like you'd like it every time. You've never heard of me, but you're sure going to be hearing about the Coffee Corner from GE.
Irma, you've combined a successful career with being a mother and housewife. Do women resent that term, housewife? You know, they use euphemisms like homemaker or so forth, because housewife sounds like drudgery.
I don't think they resent it.
But the women's libbers do.
Well,
Do you have
no.
any empathy for that movement at all?
I do in a way. I don't think they probably haven't given as much attention as they should, but I don't think they're really putting them down, or they mean to. But there's got to be some humor along the line with keeping house.
Right.
And I remember I think about my daughter a lot, who is 24 years old. And a few years back, I got up and I said to her, hey, you know, look around you. And here we were in the kitchen, and I had one kid going through the dirty clothes hamper trying to find his favorite underwear to wear to school. Someone had spilled their breakfast on someone's homework, and you know how gin smells all day long. I was packing a diaper for the 12-year-old, and my husband was standing out in the driveway with a Donny Osmond thermos, you know, and screaming shy. The dog had ketchup on the paws. Things could have been. One kid needed a costume for his school play, and he was a participle or something. I'm tearing around all over the house, going crazy. I turned to my daughter and I said, dear, someday all of this will be yours. And we never heard from her. There's really something wrong with that. I can remember when my mother would come to see me, and I would be in a fetal position under the kitchen sink nipping at the vanilla. And she would come in to me and she would say, where's the baby? And I said, I've been on the telephone. The baby always, when I'm on the phone, will climb up on the television set, take off all of his clothes and chew on a raw potato. And she said, you know, the baby is teething. He's having problems. The baby was always teething. And she said, all you have to do is put a little whiskey on the gums. And I took a belt and I did feel better. Help.
Well, your kids are all grown now.
Yeah, I've sort of got it made.
Did you, when you were first married, you didn't write? I mean, that came a little later, didn't it?
I always wrote. I worked for the Dayton Journal-Herald, and then I stayed home for a few years, and while I had the babies, and then I sort of got back into it.
Yeah.
I wrote a column for a weekly paper for $3 a week.
You talk about suburbia a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Middle America.
Irma is one of the best stand-up sit-downs.
Absolutely.
She does her
stand-up
stand-up sitting down.
Did you? You did not know I had legs.
I didn't know Irma had legs.
It's
She's
like
behind a
Cronenberg.
desk and she's funny. You know?
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoyed doing that. I worked with a dog for the first time yesterday.
What do you mean, work with a dog?
I was doing a thing for Good Morning America.
Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. This is very strange, but I feel it coming on.
All right.
And I don't know
Well,
why.
Bless you.
God bless you.
There's no way. Excuse me, I'm sorry. There is no way delicately to try to hide that kind of convulsion sitting here and go, and hold it inside. People would think something that I exploded.
But in the Greek tradition, when you sneeze on network television, life and luck will come to you.
Yes, sir. God bless you. I guess they thought. Well, didn't they originally think that sneeze was a work of the devil or something? That's why they said God bless you. The devil had entered your soul or something when you sneeze. I think that's where they.
I think you're allergic to this dress, this $6.95 dress. That's what I think.
You make your own clothes, or do you buy? Do you buy them?
No. Everyone in town's got one like this. I
Really?
swear. I saw Klinger wear it the other night. Imagine. It looks better with a rifle over your shoulder.
Yes. No, it's very attractive.
Well, it itches, actually.
What is it? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Oh, it is.
what
It's very strange.
It is strange. It just itches me to death. That's probably why you're sneezing.
Why do you keep wearing it if it itches? Why don't you?
Because you invited me back on the show, and no one asked me back on any show, and I ran out of dresses. I'll be honest with you.
Women always feel that if they've been on the show a couple times, they must wear something.
Well, sure.
Something new.
I think so.
Yeah. Your husband now, what does he do professionally?
My husband works steadily. He is in the education system, and he is Dr. Bombeck, and he is with the Phoenix Union School System.
Oh.
He got his doctorate about 3 years ago, and he came home, and in a moment of intimacy, he said to me, "You can call me Dr. Bombeck."
Didn't you record a record album?
I did. Oh, the record album. Oh, Lord. The record album came out about 4 weeks ago, and I was in New York. And I climbed into a cab, and for the very first time in my life, I heard my voice coming over the radio. I had never heard this before. And we drove along in complete silence, and I was really trying to look humble. I thought, I'm sure he knows me, you know. And so I just sat there, and finally he turned around, and he yelled in the back seat. He said, "Can you believe this old broad gets money for this?" I believe it.
New York, New York. Yeah,
So
that sounds like a New York cab driver. Did you sell a few of those? I mean, did it go well?
I think so, yeah. It's sort of different, though, because I'm not a stand-up, more like a squatting comedian or something like that.
Did you do it in front of an audience?
Well, I did it in front of a group.
Oh,
I
so you can get some
lectures,
reaction. Right.
It was in a lecture hall, and they covered 2 lectures. So it's really not like a performer who's standing up and timing things and working with an audience.
But you are, really.
I'm not at all. No, I'm constricted with fear as I sit here before your eyes.
Well, you say funny things, and you also say things funny. You know.
You're kind. Thank you.
We'll take a short break. Coming right back. The book, which is a bestseller, The Grass is Always Greener Over the Septic Tank, is a very funny book also.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. It's always great
Thank
to see
you.
you. Robert, you're going to be working...
Hunter College Auditorium, Sunday night.
Right.
December 4th at PBS.
Right.
Secret Space. I play a rabbi.
Good. And Orson plays a Hobbit.
That's right.
Which I think is a reformed rabbi. No,
Very
I don't know, but
similar,
that's not either.
except,
That's November the 27th. And tomorrow night, Lucille Ball will be here with James Caan, Phoebe Snow, and Tracer of Lost Dogs, John Keane. That's right. Tracer of Lost, yes, right here. Thank you. Good night.